Hello, everyone. So, this is the inevitable Kirk Cousins video that I've been kind of putting off. Um, so obviously the numbers are good, technically, like his actual statistical numbers. He attempted 606 passes, completed 425 of them. That's good for 70.1%, 4,298 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 7.1 yards per attempt, and 99.7 rating, a raw QBR of 60.6, and a total QBR of 61.9. All respectable numbers from, Mr. Cousins here. Now, and I know people aren't too fond of Kirk right now, but if you are able to, he was able to put up numbers in an offense that I think didn't really, how do I put this, suit his skills per se. And it didn't make too much sense in total for most of the year with John DeFilippo. And then you had Kevin Stefanski come in, and even though the play calling, I think, got a little better with Stefanski at the helm, they're still DeFilippo's plays. It's not Stefanski's offense. And that's just how it is. But just for reference, both his raw QBR at 60.6 and total QBR at 61.9 are higher than that of a one Aaron Rodgers from last season, who had a raw QBR of 56.8 and a total QBR of 60.4. Even though they aren't too much better, it was still better. And I do know why Rodgers gets the pass, and you get to blame the coach in Green Bay as opposed to blaming the coach in Minnesota for what happened with Kirk Cousins. But I think instead of just going right to Kirk Cousins and saying it's all his fault, entirely all his fault, I do think we have to at least put this into perspective and look at all of the things instead of just, oh, we exchanged Case Keenum for Kirk Cousins. Case, we went to the playoffs. Kirk, we didn't. Therefore, Kirk sucks. Not really how I like to think about things. It's a team game. Kind of have to look at the whole picture, not just, oh, it's one guy. Even though it's a lot easier to pin all of it onto the one guy. So if we just went and looked at what DeFilippo did, kind of in a similar way how people were looking at what McCarthy did with Aaron Rodgers, maybe we'll get an actual counter argument. Cousins, coming into this team was praised as a play action passer, and rightfully so, as his completion percentage was actually 75.2% off of it this year, which was good for second in the league in terms of that. Now, the issue is DeFilippo's play action percentage was 18.6%. And I don't know how many of you people know this, but that was good for 27th in the league. So his greatest asset was hardly used at all last season. And I think this offense might have fallen into kind of a victim of a coach who didn't utilize its strengths to its full potential, really. Like, I think he kind of came in and just said, well, no, we're just going to throw all the time, and then that's it. And it wasn't much of, well, we need to find a way to establish the run game because his best thing is play action passing. And instead, it kind of felt like we get to 13 to 15 carries, and all of a sudden, we're going to stop running the ball because it's time to throw. And that's not necessarily how this goes. Obviously, Kirk Cousins does get some blame. He came out flat sometimes. There are some key late situation things that he did. But for everything to be blamed on Kirk Cousins is a little insane, I think. And I do know it's an unpopular opinion to not jump onto the bandwagon of, oh no, Kirk Cousins is trash. We should get rid of him right now. I don't think that. I don't think he's a horrible player. I don't think he necessarily deserves his contract, but most quarterbacks with the contracts they're signing don't. It's a product of the market, not a product of Cousins. That's just how this is. And it kind of started with a guy who was just in the news recently, Joe Flacco, when he got, that one contract right after the Super Bowl. That's kind of when this all changed. And all of a sudden, we started getting these ridiculous quarterback contracts. And eventually, this kind of contract was going to come to a player who doesn't deserve this kind of contract. And even no matter how great the quarterback is, like once again, even going to Aaron Rodgers, we all know Aaron Rodgers is a really good quarterback when he's fully healthy. No one will argue. However, if you're dishing out $35 million per year, you kind of want to look at different options potentially. Even then, if you're talking about Rodgers, like it's gotten to that point of where none of these quarterbacks really deserve their pay grade once they get paid. So is he ever going to be worth $28 million per year? Probably not. But I really don't know what people expected when we got him. He wasn't going to take some miracle pill. He was always this play action passer that stayed in the pocket. He doesn't go out and make plays happen like that. He's very technically sound in that regard. He stays in the pocket. He was taught that way, so he is that way. And I don't know why people thought that would change just because he signed the contract. That's not how this worked. We were supposed to put in an offense that made sense for one Kirk Cousins. We did not. We instead we got a coach who wanted to throw 45 times a game, and then we kind of ignored our biggest weakness, which was the offensive line, and it was kind of destined to have this collision course where it doesn't go well. That's kind of what I think. But like I said, he does get some blame. But because in some of the bigger games of the year, he did kind of come up flat. And the Saint game wasn't the best. There were some garbage time yards at the end of that. But he had one crucial interception that got housed, and we ended up losing by 10. Obviously, the Adam Thielen fumble didn't help. But my point is there were some games like that where you can certainly say, yeah, that was a problem. But those things happen sometimes. I know that sucks. And I think for the most part, we can avoid some of these things if we at least put an offense in that is actually suited for the players we have, as opposed to going to this spread kind of college offensive throwing all the time. And I think we need to put him under center more, use more play action passing, all those good things, which means you actually have to address the line, which I know is news for Minnesota sometimes because, we kind of had our most consistent lineman last year retire, and then it's thought, oh, Mike Remmers, he'll just, play guard. And then I guess he sucks at guard now. So that's just how that is. And they actually need to address that instead of just saying, oh, no, there's this gap thing that we can do right here that will just be fine and dandy. That's not how that works. And it was kind of destined to fail. And once again, I know it's the unpopular opinion to not think Kirk Cousins is some trash quarterback who we need to dish off immediately. I really don't think we can upgrade over Cousins this offseason, certainly, because I don't know who you replace him with. And because if you look at the quarterbacks on the market potentially, unless you want to trade up for a Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins, there's no one in here that really excites you, is there, in the draft? And then you have to then be like, okay, then who's available free agent-wise? It's like, because you can't even get rid of Kirk at all, because once again, he is the quarterback for 2 years. And regardless, there's, once again, no one to replace him over, because all the other rumored guys, like potentially an Andy Dalton, you want to replace him with Tyrod Taylor or Ryan Tannehill, or, any of those guys, Nick Foles, like, you don't really get, like, you're not going to get better than him this offseason, certainly. And he has $58 million more due to him over the next 2 years, and we're stuck with him whether we like it or not. I don't think he's a horrible player. I don't think he's a great player. I think he's an average to above average quarterback, and he will give you a chance to win the game. Every time you're at least there, you have a chance to win the game just because the quarterback is at least solid, and that's more than a lot of other teams can say. Once again, look at Denver. They just traded for Joe Flacco, and now they're trying to get rid of Case Keenum. And I know a lot of people like Case Keenum, but you have to admit a little bit that he overachieved, just a tad. And it was kind of a perfect situation for him anyway, because the defense didn't get hurt. It was number one in the league. You had Diggs and Thielen. Even though Cook was hurt, you still had Latavius and Jerick McKinnon in the backfield, and the offensive line was the best it was in years. So naturally, things kind of went well. But there was always that thing where it's like, if there was some adversity, we don't know how that would have gone. And now they're trying to throw him out of Denver. So I don't think they necessarily did a wrong choice with Kirk just yet, based off of what we've seen from the other quarterbacks. They passed over to get Kirk, but he's not completely out of the woods. No, I will say that. Like I said, he gets blame, but I do think it's a little insane just to put it all onto Kirk Cousins. And that's just kind of how I feel about this. And I would like to know what you guys think down below. Probably not taken lightly what I said, but it is what it is. And I would like to know what you guys think down below in the comments below. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.